All right, welcome folks to the weekly BrightID AMA. It is May 5th. Glad to have the crew here and later on YouTube. We don't have a special guest today, so any topic is open and available. Feel free to write in the chat, or if you want. It doesn't have a huge audience, so also feel free to just speak right up. I will start off in saying there has been a little bit of movement in Aura. The first tiny bits of energy may be moving around. So we'll see how that goes. The handoff is in process. So movement there, but still not really ready. But I like to see progress. Yeah. Anyone have anything they want to bring up today other than that? I'll use this. I'll say next about not directly BrightID related, but the water token has launched. It includes the Bright token in the launch with the launch partners, along with a bunch of great communities that are building in the Web3 space and on Gnosis chain. OneHive, Shapeshift, Token Engineering Commons, Giveth, Opolis, and BrightDAO were the original founding folks. It's launched on HoneySwap. It's got a little shy of $600,000 of liquidity, and it is simply that. It is liquidity among tokens, and it seems to be working. When someone buys a token that puts things out of balance, little arb butts come in and they kind of just even everything out. Volume is modest, but comes in fits and starts, and it seems to be working. So looking forward to watching how that plays out. We're going to get it sort of. There are some steps that need to do to get things better tracked in HoneySwap, so we can understand exactly what's going on. Right now, the only market that's fully being tracked is the OneHive market with honey water. The others show up as untracked. I'm not exactly sure what that means, but it has the impact of the liquidity numbers, the transaction numbers not coming through into the main statistics for HoneySwap. Water is a pretty important asset in HoneySwap at this point in terms of liquidity and even its modest little volume. So it'd be cool to see that soon. Any questions about water from anyone? What else?
I don't know. I'm thinking about I'm trying to think if we talked about like all the other integrations that did we talk about the faucet last week? I thought we did.
I think we did.
Yeah, it seems like there's not much new. I mean, it's cool. Water launched. Aura is making progress. New features should be coming out soon. I don't think any have been released yet, but I think there's some cool new features. But I can't think of anything that we haven't already talked about. Like, I think we've talked about the new features, the new integrations that are coming out. So, yeah. I don't know. Am I missing something that we haven't already talked about?
Yes, Donnie, go ahead.
Yeah, I always would like to hear your vision about BrightID. How do you see that in the future, and which path do you think we should go through? I always would like to know about that.
Yeah, thanks. I'm happy to talk about the vision for BrightID. So, as we're discovering, so BrightID was originally launched because Philip and I were really interested in UBI and how that could work, universal basic income. I saw this as like a fundamental, the proof of human uniqueness as a fundamental problem. Saw that the current ways to approach it left a lot to be desired. And so I just tried to imagine what would the, like, if we could have the solution we wanted, what would it look like? And that's what BrightID is. That's what it's trying to be. And so the, like, in the future, what it would be is, and my vision has kind of evolved based on like learnings over time. But in the vision, it's like you rely on people that you already know to verify you as a unique human being in a way that's privacy preserving. You don't have to share anything with anyone that they don't already know about you. So they use information that they already know about you because they're your close friends or relatives. And that's how you get verified, and that this verification is accepted anywhere that anyone needs a like a unique identifier that doesn't necessarily say much about you. It's not, so it's not a proof of like that you were born in a certain country. It's not a proof of a certain age. It's not a proof of those types of things that you might find on other identity cards. But it is a very important proof, which is that you're a unique human being. And a lot of times we've discovered that that's all you need to unlock certain benefits and rights to use certain apps. And so one thing that I think is kind of attractive to think about is your proof of world citizenship. It's like, are you a human being? Yes, okay, you're a world citizen. What does that mean right now to be a world citizen? Are there a lot of votes or decisions that you're entitled to? Benefits that you're entitled to? As of now, no, but that's probably because BrightID doesn't exist on a global scale yet. So I think of it as a better solution than if we took the existing stuff and tried to like put it all together and like create something based on like a federation of like national identities or something like that. I don't, that just doesn't seem like the right way to do it. It seems like national, even on a national scale, the national identities have problems with, especially with privacy, and that they just don't reach everyone like they should. So, so yeah, we imagined something better, kind of like reimagined it, how it should work. And that's what we're working towards. And the vision's becoming more clear with new products like Aura coming out. It's becoming more clear how to attain that. We tried some things. We've tried using seed groups, having a seed DAO. We tried meets verification. So we've tried some things that we learned from, but there's no way to scale those. So we need something that scales. And I believe that Aura is the thing that scales, because it takes like a small set of the users and says, okay, who's going to fulfill the role that in the past was fulfilled by like government agents or something. It's like the government agents come and collect a lot of data on you, and then they say like, okay, you're a citizen. Here's your citizen card. We did our research, and there's a lot of downsides to that. Like the downsides are, you have to bring a bunch of data that you didn't already share with the government. You have to share it with the government, and then we don't know what's happening behind the closed doors. That's the other issue with it. So with the new vision, it's you have helpers. You have a certain subset, like small set of helpers. Anyone can volunteer play the aura game and be a helper to help other people get verified. And if you do a good job as deemed by other aura players in a decentralized way, and I would encourage people to read the forum post on it to see how the decentralization happens for that. But that is those are the people that help to verify everyone. So it's not everyone has that burden. It's more like, do you want to have that responsibility? Do you want to help other people get verified? What happens is naturally the people who are going to be best at it are attracted to doing it and succeed at it and get we call it energy, but get the blessing of other aura players to be able to play the aura game. And it forces anyone who wants to do a Sybil attack into that arena with the Sybil experts. So yeah, so that's kind of my my current like vision of how I see like the nuts and bolts from a social standpoint working from my current knowledge. Aura is still something that needs to be tested, and I'm sure we'll learn a lot more. But it's hard to imagine a world or a solution where there isn't kind of this separation between the experts that are responsible for helping other people to get verified and like the regular people who just want to use the thing. It's hard to imagine that there not being that distinction. The only question is, who are those experts going to be? Are they going to be like government appointed officials that you hand over a bunch of documents to working behind closed doors? Or are they going to be your friends and family that you've known all your life? And like in the future, it's not even much of a process. It's like something your parents did for you. It's like similar to like getting your birth registration. Your parents did it for you. They went through this whole process to get your birth registration. It'll be like that for BrightID, but it'll be easier, cheaper, more decentralized, more global. Less people will be left out of that system. So yeah, that's the vision. That's what we want to do.
Thank you. That was nice. Yeah.
And I'll say on top of that once you have that thing, that global citizenship card, but it doesn't have to leak any information when you use it.
Yes.
So often I'll say the example of currently you want to go have a drink of alcohol, you go to the bar, you give them your license. What they needed to know was that some authority that they accept said you're old enough. That's a binary thing. Instead, you gave them your name and your address and your height and your hair color. Why? They didn't need any of that. So you should be able to give only the piece of information that the other party needs. And we've seen many instances where really the only piece of information that they should need is that they're aware that you as an individual are there. If you come back, that you're the same one that was here before, or actually not even necessarily that. There are some instances where it should be like once forever, and another is like within a session, and that you should be able to give that. People are gonna in the metaverse, they're gonna want to use all sorts of different personas, and there's no reason that they shouldn't be able to do that. But if you're doing something that should be given to an individual as opposed to a persona, if I want to have 5 Twitter accounts with 5 different personas, and that is the like expected behavior, fine. But if there's voting going on through Twitter, I should not get 5 votes because I have 5 personas. Like that's not what it was intended to be. If someone wants to give a free cup of coffee to anyone that walks in, great, anyone can have a cup of coffee, but having 5 personas does not enable you to get 5 cups of coffee.
Yeah, that's a great example of how to use it. And people are discovering lots of new ways to use it that I had never imagined. So I think that's a sign that we're onto something. important is that like there's all kinds of use cases coming up all the time. What was the other thing that I wanted to say? Something, let's see, wait, oh yeah, you were talking about the self-sovereign identity, Philip. You were talking about, so that's an important aspect of BrightID that we definitely want to be on board with, and that we always have been on board with. And that's something that I hope goes beyond BrightID. So BrightID is just answering this simple question: are you a unique person for the purposes of whatever system you're using? But there's other things that, you know, someone might care about where do you live. Someone might care about other questions about you that may be, they may need to know. And right now we've entrusted a lot of those proofs to governments, and that might, you know, that might be the way we do it for a long time. There has to be some trusted entity that like can say like, yes, this person lives here. Yes, this person is a citizen of this country. So there are other questions that people might want to share, but I hope, and we've always wanted to be on board with like the self-sovereign. I own it. I share it with who I want to. If I share it with you, you don't get to share it with other people. I'm sharing it just with you. Here's my individual proof just for you, to show you just what you need, and I'm in control. And that's the way it should be. So I hope that's the way that BrightID has always built. We've built our architecture to be that way, and I hope that that other things that manage other pieces of your identity follow the same suit. And I hope that we do end up with something. We've always talked about an identity wallet, and how like identity wallets are coming, and we really want those. That's what it should be. It should be something where you manage all the little pieces of your identity. You have control, and that's and we maximize the privacy when you share those things. So yeah, we're a privacy first project for sure. Yeah, welcome to Saswat and Alfred. Nice to have you here. Thanks for listening in. Yeah. Hi. Anything else anyone wants to talk about? We're willing to. We can talk about anything. There's no set topic for today.
Another thing that I want to know your opinion about is, what project do you think are leading like the identity area and proof of uniqueness area?
Oh, proof of uniqueness? Well,
Yeah.
I mean, I love to collaborate with other projects. Like I'm keeping close tabs on Proof of Humanity and talking with them, looking for ways that we can collaborate. There's Upala is really interesting. IDENA is an interesting experiment. We'll see how far it can go. I would love to see something that can solve this. I think what's interesting about all these projects that I mentioned just now is we all share the same values and goals. So I think if any one of those projects I just mentioned succeeds, we all succeed, because we have the same goals. But we need to help each other. And if one of the other projects seems like they're missing a piece, or they're starting to veer off course, or we see a way that they can be improved, we should try to help each other. So that's what I want to do. And I do believe that eventually there will be some, so let's look at Proof of Humanity, which is a really interesting one. So in Proof of Humanity, there's kind of this public registry. So first you have to get vouchers from people that you know, which is right in line with what BrightID does. So that's perfectly in line. Something is at stake. In this case, it's money, but also your reputation, because if you vouch for someone and they get booted, you get booted out too. I personally think that that's like a little bit too harsh. Like I was talking to someone yesterday in the BrightID Discord that, or maybe it was this morning, that that even if someone discovers that you're Sybil attacking the BrightID system, you should still get one. Like you'll be banned from playing Aura for life, but you should still get like one BrightID account that you can use. You should be able to still use like one account for Gitcoin and Rabbit Hole and UBI and all the other things that you want to use BrightID for. The punishment shouldn't be too harsh. So anyways, there's that, but there should be something at stake. Like I was saying, the Sybil attackers are forced into the Aura game. If you try to Sybil, so that's where you have to try to Sybil attack. If you Sybil attack the Aura game, you're not going to be able to play the Aura game anymore. You're going to get kicked out. So anyways, so there is something at stake if you try to Sybil attack. It's the same with Proof of Humanity. There's something at stake. There's money at stake. There's the ability to be verified is at stake. So that's important. I think that those two pieces are crucial. And then from there, there's the differences, which is they're using a public registry and we're using an anonymous graph. So I think that's the main difference. But I think that both of those approaches are going to need an Aura-like solution added to them. Because the idea, I believe, because I've talked to Santi and Clement several times about it, behind the public registry is, well, if we have this public registry and everybody has to provide a video proof and use like real data, real information about themselves, then we can use algorithms and whatever approaches. We can scour over this public registry and say, aha, like these two people are the same person. Let's, we detected a Sybil here. The thing is, normal people, like your normal everyday person that's just a Proof of Humanity user and just collecting the UBI tokens, is not going to be sophisticated enough to even know where to start with a wide open public registry. Like, okay, great, we have 100,000 users here. We're like, what do I do to find the Sybils in here? I want to help, but what do I do?
Randomly put two pictures on the screen and ask me if I think those are the same people.
Yeah. So as far as I know, and I mean, I love to keep tabs on Proof of Humanity. So I love to see what they're trying out, because I know that there's going to need to be some extra solution here to provide some tools to expert users. And so I don't think it'll be a casual user that can do this. I don't think that there's going to be some tool like what you said, where any old person can come and just like compare two photos and be like, oh, I'm helping to keep the Sybils out. I think it'll have to be people who maybe write some sophisticated software that can detect like Sybil behavior within the public registry, software that can detect generated deep fakes, stuff like that. So there's going to need to be this class of expert Sybil hunters. And then what it's going to come down to, I think, is a public registry of everybody going to be the right, I guess, the right setting for like looking and finding Sybils, or is like a graph of people who already know each other, already know things about each other, like, what's your Twitter account? What's your phone number? What's your address? Like they know pieces of information about you because they've known you all their life. Will that be a better like setting for attacking the Sybils? So like I said, I'm happy for anyone who tries to tackle this problem, and I want to provide any help that I can. So if in the future Proof of Humanity says, hey, like, could you please add this to the Aura toolbox, because we want to use Aura 2 and we want to use it with the Proof of Humanity registry. We want the Sybil hunters to be able to like also help out with and like comb our public registry for Sybils, then yeah, we should do that. Like we should collaborate. We should try to make the best solution that we can. So there's still experimentation to do to figure out what's going to be the best. And also, along those lines, maybe IDENA will figure out some way like, hey, we figured out how to get the entire world to like meet once a day at the same time and prove that none of them are civils.
Cool.
And if they do that, then like, awesome.
I mean, one of my issues with IDENA has always been that, like, right, I don't think you're going to get all of the people in the world to do anything at one particular time on any regular basis. That's just, that said, could you get a region of Aura players to all do a thing at the same time? Maybe, like,
sure.
Maybe you find it a useful task to prove that the Aura players are individual in that way.
Yeah, so there might be some like piece of that idea that gets put into one of these other solutions. So yeah, I think experimentation is good.
So imagine it's like, hey, I see a region in the graph that I think is questionable. I go, I'm not sure those are all individual. If there's challenges that I can say, I said, hey, this group of people, you need to go through this week's IDENA process because that tells me something, or some wildly different process. But like, hey, if I could force this region or some people in this region to take some task, that would make me feel much better about that region, and possibly even incentivize that region to take that action. It's not everyone. It's like, man, if I could just force that group of people to do something, then I would either feel good or not about that region.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's going to be one of the challenges. Another way that I describe the BrightID solution is that this is an easy problem to solve if you've got a room full of 100 people. You can just say like, oh, okay. Or let's imagine, just for simplicity, let's imagine you go to like a micro conference and there's 20 people in it and you're going to be collaborating for a weekend. You'll get to know everybody at a glance. You can say, oh, like everyone's here or someone's missing, or, hey, you're new, I didn't see you yesterday. Like, this is an easy problem at a small scale. So it's just, and the way I kind of imagine BrightID is you've got a bunch of these small little pockets of people that like know the solution really well for their little corner of the world. And how do you connect them together in such a way that this pocket can say that this pocket is honest, and not just like one person that created 20 fake people around them. So, and the key, I think, is that the world is not static. Our social relationships are not static. And there is no such thing as a completely isolated group of 20 people. This person is going to be also part of this group over here. And so if there's like some pocket somewhere that is like 20 people that never do anything, they never connect to anyone else, then you start to wonder like, okay, are these real people? But if you start to see the interconnections, like, okay, this pocket is connecting to this pocket is connecting, like it can see how they're interconnecting. Then you can start to, oh, sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
So say if they're not interconnecting, right, just because they don't want to jump through the extra hoops, like they don't want to do the BrightID stuff, they don't want to play Aura, right? But if someone very trustable is the bridge being like, despite the fact that they're not doing lots of BrightID activity, I'm still vouching for them. They've done enough that I'm still vouching for this group. So as long as you, the rest of the Aura players, believe that I'm telling the truth, like they're just under me. They're my children.
Exactly.
And if I've got one group of 20 people under me, maybe that's great. I've got plenty of credibility to have that. If I have 5, okay, you should be asking me questions about, well, why, and maybe I have good answers. If I have 100, then you're like, okay, you really need to outline exactly why this is a reasonable thing, because that's weird. And then I'm like, oh yeah, this like what I do is I go to villages and I get them signed up. And like here's all the pictures of my travels and like, wow, okay, cool. I'm really doing that unusual thing. Otherwise, no, like, all right, I go to college campuses and but like if I went to college campuses, they would interconnect, they would start to interconnect because they're college kids and that's just what they do.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I think you've hit on it right there, that it's the aura players. It's that they keep tabs on each other. It's like, okay, you've told me like how you play the aura game, how you help people to get verified. So I know your activity, and I also know, like, we know each other and we know how to find bridges, find our own bridges. It's not like you can't always ask. This is why we make the distinction between aura players, the verifier helpers, and the regular BrightID users, because you can't always ask a BrightID user to come and just connect, like, hey, you need to connect to the whole world so that we can see that your village like actually is connected to other village. Like you can't necessarily do that. But what you can do is you can say like, oh, there's an aura player in your village. Okay, cool. This aura player here wants to come meet this aura player here. And, maybe it's the neighboring village or something. And so it's like their emissaries or whatever, if you will, come and meet each other. And they're like, oh, okay, I see that there actually is a village here. Okay, good. And then the other one does the same thing with the other village. And so it's like,
they can talk intelligently about that village and the people that they're connected to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's how I see it happening, is that it's like, it's the aura players are kind of like the designated representatives that build the bridges where the bridges are needed. And yeah, they do it so that not everybody has to do that.
Great. And there's also not a central authority that manages all of this, that each end user, each end aura player is making their own assessments of what should happen sort of downstream of them. And I think it's going to be a pretty dynamic thing that happens when you let everybody make their own end choices, which is distinctly not how the seed groups work now.
Yeah,
I think we're going to see flows, and it's going to be wild. Sometimes, like certain regions will just like explode quickly, advance out really fast, and other ones will stagnate, and we'll figure out. And then at some point, we'll introduce even multiple flavors of energy that don't even come from the same source. We know, looking at the BrightID graph now, there are sort of three main regions. And when there's multiple flavors of energy, I'm sure that there will be regions, and there'll be areas that have overlap. And man, if you've got red energy and blue energy and green energy, great. Like all the regions think that you were valid, and then some other people will only have kind of one of those. It doesn't mean that they're not valid, but we're less confident about that user than someone in the overlap of everything.
Yeah, it's really important that the aura game can run itself, basically. And that's where the seed groups were lacking. Is we were saying, well, let's have the seed groups, let's have a seed DAO or even multiple seed DAOs, and let's have seed groups like figure out some way to talk to other seed groups, and then we'll have some seed DAO. But it felt too hierarchical, and it felt too we never could figure out how to get away from the centralized aspect of it. It felt like there was always going to be some like top level organization that was like directing all the seed groups on what to do. And the problem with that, obviously, is what happens when that top level organization becomes corrupted. So one of the beautiful things about aura is that, yes, we'll start out, there's the notion of energy flavors. So we start out with one highly trusted energy flavor that probably will never be corrupted within our lifetimes, but we leave the door open for other energy flavors to also gain a lot of clout within the system, so that if any one of them, even the beginning one that has like the founding team of BrightID in it, even if that one were to become corrupted and someone discovers like, oh wow, like the core team of BrightID is abusing BrightID to like create civil accounts, then some other energy source could take over and say like, okay, this one has a great track record. They don't have the corruption problem that we've uncovered with this other energy flavor. So now everyone's going to start using that one, and it just kind of seamlessly transitions to that. If people have been, because the idea is that the Aura players hold multiple energy flavors and help people to get verified from the perspective of multiple energy sources. They're verified, so that if one goes away, the verification doesn't automatically go away. There's still another verification, like a white verification goes away, but your red verification is still valid, so you're still good to go. So that's what was lacking with some of the other things.
One of the changes that I think is going to be important is allowing applications. We've got this idea in Aura of bronze, silver, gold, where our opinion is sort of low, medium, high confidence that applications can select, but we can change what derives that over time. So the application gets to just say, hey, someone smart that we trust, how confident are you? And the Oracle sort of gives back a simple to digest answer, but what made up that answer might be really complicated and changing over time as we get smarter and super nuanced. But so the analysis is complicated and nuanced. The output response is super simple, and they only need to make that selection once, or look at it very, very rarely, even though the underlying analysis is changing constantly. We expect that good, honest users will not change much and only sort of ratchet in one direction. But if you're attacking, it's hard to keep up with the standards. The standards are always getting better.
Yeah, the nice thing of a decentralized process like that is, let's say that we have our gold, silver, and bronze standard that we, the core BrightID white energy team, have created, but there's some other red energy team that has their own standards, and they say, well, those standards are pretty good, but we think ours are a little better. If apps say, yeah, I think red team is right. I think they, their diamond, ruby, and sapphire standards are better than the gold, silver, and bronze. We're going to use those. That's fine. Like, that's the nature of decentralization. That's the nature of open source software, is that that's totally cool. We welcome that, and we should encourage that. So. Well, we've been talking for 45 minutes. Any other topics you guys want to bring up?
Yeah, you mentioned Edina and Proof of Humanity, but they would like to know about Ceramic and WorldCoin, because I've never read about them yet.
Wait, so you mentioned several things there. You've mentioned Idina, Proof of Humanity, Ceramic, and WorldCoin. So
no, I mean, you talked about Ceramic, you talked about Idina and Proof of Humanity,
right?
But I would like your opinion about WorldCoin and Ceramic.
Oh, Ceramic. Okay, so Ceramic is just a data layer. So and it comes with an identity framework that you can use with it, called IDX. So I think of ceramic as like almost like a decentralized document storage facility. So kind of like IPFS. It's got the same sorts of things. So it needs to pin the data, and then it kind of lives forever in the decentralized cloud, I guess you could say. But they're baking in a lot of tools that make it useful for people that want to work with identity and use it to store identity proofs in this decentralized manner. So when we talked about having this storage locker of your proofs, ceramic could certainly play a part in that, in making sure that you're not locked into any one vendor to say that, or any one supplier of like storage saying like, oh yeah, we'll hold your proofs for you. And then like one day it's like, okay, that company is gone or whatever. Instead, you can put it in ceramic and in your IDX locker, and then it'll it'll always be there. So that's, so ceramic is a great tool that I think we all can try to use in some way. And then as far as WorldCoin, I think where they go wrong is that they're using retina scans, first of all, and second of all, that the software is closed source. So we talked about the problem with closed solutions is that like if it's a government that's storing your data for you and issuing the identities, you don't know that like Bob in the DMV isn't like printing hundreds of fake identity cards for people. You also, and selling them. You also don't know that like what they're doing with your data, that they're not like selling, that someone within the organization isn't selling your data to someone else. So that those sorts of things are problematic. So it's problematic to have things. It's problematic from the WorldCoin perspective that it's closed source, that there's some sort of like organization that has access to your retina scans and could do bad stuff with it. And what happens when your retina scans are leaked? Like okay, so like if someone comes up to you and tricks you in BrightID, someone comes up and says, hey, like I'm going to show you how to use BrightID. And they set it up in a way that they can just steal your account because they're like, oh, you need to, look, I have these 3 devices here. You need to come and set up your social recovery with my 3 devices. And then they wait for you to go and use your BrightID and link to a bunch of different apps. And then later they come and steal it from you because they tricked you. You can come back from that in BrightID. You can come back, you can like create a new BrightID, you can start over, it's no problem. That user that is doing that scam will get reported eventually. Certainly the Aura players will be able to track down where that person is operating and ban their civil accounts, stuff like that. So that is not a insurmountable problem. Those sorts of like social engineering attacks are not an insurmountable problem for BrightID. But they, like, how do you, if someone comes up to you with a fake orb and is like, hey, I want you to be part of WorldCoin, scan your retina in here, and then they steal your retina and go off somewhere else and create their own WorldCoin account and basically steal your identity. Like, how do you come back from that? You can't grow another set of retinas. So like, how do you, I don't know. I would need to talk to someone from WorldCoin. I would assume with all the money they have, they've thought about things like that, but it just doesn't make sense. Like it does, the approach doesn't make sense to me. So I have to learn more before I can get on board with it.
I didn't know that they're closed source project. Okay.
Well, they have to be. That's kind of like the social aspect of any solution has to have a social aspect. It's like, do you trust the US government to like scan your retinas for you or take your fingerprints for you or your footprint or whatever it may be and collect this other data on you? Do you trust WorldCoin Corp to collect your retinas from you. It's like you have to trust somebody, or do you trust, and this is where I see biometrics as not being useful, because like you can't replace them, but do you trust and you don't need them. Like, do you trust your friends and family to like vouch for you? If those are the people you're trusting, then they probably don't, they don't need your biometrics. They can use others, all the stuff that they've known about you since the time that they've known you. They can use that as their proof. So we actually, there is, so I don't think this is not biometrics, but there are like other ways you can help to stop small scale Sybil attacks. And I wrote a forum post on this, but let's say that you have one, this is like a classic Sybil attack that people always ask us about. And for a while, we didn't have a good solution for it. But let's say that you have group of friends A and group of friends B. You create two BrightIDs. You go to group of friends A, get them to vouch for you to the point that you get verified over there. You do the same over here. How do you stop that? And with the Aura game, there would have to be like one of those verifiers would have to be, or they would both have to be Aura players to help you get verified. But they're both trying to be helpful. They both think that they're helping you to get verified. So what we provide in Aura is an easy way for this verifier and this verifier to say like, okay, we are verifying the same BrightID account without even sharing with each other what that BrightID account is. So that, because if you did, then an attacker could come in and say, oh yeah, I'm helping this person, but really they're just trying to like learn more about this person, like basically out them and get you to tell information about that person. So anyways, I described it in the forum post, but you can use, there's a tried and true cryptographic method for two people to verify. You can look it up if you want. It's called the Socialist Millionaire Problem and Protocol. It's a way for two people to verify that they're talking about the same thing without revealing what that thing is. So the problem is, it's like two millionaires. They want to know if they have exactly the same amount of money without revealing what that money is. So like, I want to know that you have exactly $1 million and that I have exactly $1 million. But I don't want to tell you that the number amount is $1 million, because unless we both agree on that number, then we'll both know. So it's a way to do that. So anyways, that is a nice little proof that you can do in BrightID to prove that that two Aura players are referring to the same person without actually revealing to each other the BrightID of that person. And that quickly shuts down any of these small scale Sybil attacks. Yeah, so the point is that I'm trying to like walk back this tangent and figure out how we got talking about that from WorldCoin. But anyways, yeah, it's do you remember Yazdani, like what was, like you asked some follow-up question about WorldCoin or something, like you said that you didn't know that it was closed source. It is, oh yeah, we were talking about like, who is the verifier? Like, is it WorldCoin Corp? Is it the government? Is it your friends? Is it like two different circles of friends that can both in a privacy preserving way make sure that they're talking about the same you? That's ideal. That's what you want.
Nice. Thank you.
All right, guys. As usual, I think Chris is going to tell me that I've done like 80% of the talking, but I appreciate the opportunity to answer questions and talk to you all, and hope you have a great week and see you back here soon.
Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Cheers, mate.